Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to stand and we want you to make some noise.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go racing here at Knoxville.
Only the best go 3 abreast. It is showtime at Williams Grove Speedway.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here at Eldora Speedway, it's showtime!
You got a for a rep. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the world of Outlaws.
It's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime!
Set to do battle for 30 laps. The green flag is waving.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wing Nation, the Galentine's Day version, not Valentine's Day. You heard me right. I'm your host, Erin Evernham, as Steve is on his way to Daytona for some little race this weekend. So my co-host joining us from Pennsylvania via Zoom is my good friend, Ashley Stremme. How you doing, Ashley?
I am great, Erin. Happy Galentine's Day. Is there big plans for the Evernhams tonight?
Not really, It's just really not that big holiday, but there were some flowers this morning, so he did all right. What about you guys?
I'm still waiting. There's no plans currently, but I'm still waiting. It's wash day. The guys just got back from Volusia yesterday, so today's wash day, so there's still time.
Awesome. So you were down in Volusia for a few days. You got to see some sprint car racing. I know you were down there for the modifieds. Anything interesting that you saw? Obviously, there was some great racing, but Mother Nature, I guess, kind of won out in the end.
She did. But it was beautiful. We were in shorts, so no complaints for at least 3 or 4 days there. I think David Gravel showed some huge improvements, and it'll be interesting to see how the year unfolds. I know he's tired of finishing second in the points. Could this be his year? Awesome speed this weekend. And then you take somebody like Danny Dietrich, had terrible showing all week, completely tears the car apart, puts it back together, and then hits the podium. So it was an interesting week for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It was, even watching on Dirt Vision and Flow. Speaking of David Gravel, he's going to join us on the show later, as well as our good friend Terry McCarl. So let's hop right into our Hefner Racing hot topics. Like you mentioned, the World of Outlaws, we're at Volusia. David Gravel picking up both wins. Buddy Kofoid getting 2 second-place finishes. He certainly looked good down there. And like you said, Danny Dietrich finished third in the first feature, Logan Schuchart third in the second. We also had the All-Stars before that at Volusia. Brad Sweet picked up really the first big 410 win of the year, followed by Logan Schuchart in gravel. And on Wednesday night, Carson Macedo got the win. Donnie Schatz with a bent nose wing managed to hold on to second, and James McFadden third. All-Stars last night were also at East Bay, and Tyler Courtney picked up his first win, but a heck of a run from Justin Peck and Buddy Kofoid. Were you able to catch any of those features?
I did not watch East Bay last night. Yesterday was just a cluster from being gone for a week. But we did talk to Justin Peck yesterday. He will be on the MAV TV and our Rev TV programs this week. Justin is extremely excited for this year. So to see, he had 3 top 10s at Volusia. And Erin, you can attest to this. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 races that you see this caliber of races at throughout the year. The Nationals, the National Open, the Eldora Million, you'll see it. But Volusia is its own animal. It's a big half mile. It's fast. And again, the competition is absolutely insane.
Yes, I think it's going to be so interesting to see how things play out. The World of Outlaws have a few weeks off, but certainly was fun to watch the races that we've gotten to catch so far. Those are your Hefner Racing products hot topics. HRP Wings are the original recessed rivet wings manufacturer. They use wind tunnel and track performance testing to outpace industry in design, innovation, and functionality. And not only for sprint cars, but lightning sprints, micro and junior sprints. And they can ship across the world and be economically ground shipped to your door. We need to step away for a quick break. When we come back, David Gravel will join us next.
The Outlaws are headed back to the Pacific Northwest. Join us for 3 action-packed nights of racing August 31st, September 1st and 2nd at Skagit Speedway when the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars return for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals. Kickoff for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals begins Wednesday, August 30th with a pre-race party, live band, Sage Fruit apple giveaways, and more. Then catch Johnny Schatz and the rest of the World of Outlaws as they take on Washington's best sprint car drivers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Details at SkagitSpeedway.com.
Dirt Empire Magazine is the ultimate dirt track racing only magazine in the world, featuring interviews, opinions, event photos, tech, and 100% racing action. Each issue includes late models, modified sprint cars, and more. Big event photos from the best photographers in the sport, and great one-on-one interviews with the top drivers as well as grassroots racers. Pick up a copy of Dirt Empire Magazine today at select Tractor Supply stores or other area retailers, or get your subscription today at DirtEmpireMagazine.com.
Welcome back. This is Wing Nation. Joining us now on the Sage Fruit Hotline is the World of Outlaw two-time winner so far this season, only after 2 races, David Gravel. Welcome to the show, David.
How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Well, we're doing well, but I don't think as well as you are. Talk about last week. Certainly a strong debut with the Outlaws this year. Look pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, it was a great start. We started the year off with the All-Stars at Volusia and had a good first night, and then kind of stubbed our toe the second night, and then kind of went back to normal deal for the first night of the Outlaws, and everything was going well, and felt like we had a good car to win the race, and Mother Nature came and rained us out the rest of the night. So we picked up on that first event before really the night started on Friday, and was able to get the job done, and was able to win 2 in one day. It was pretty cool, and really, you can't ask for any more.
David, you're the 6th person to add their name to the World of Outlaws list of winning 2 races in the same day. Does that make it easier, or does it make it harder to have 2 features in the same day?
I would say harder for me to start off the year. I was dealing a little bit of an injury to start the year as well. So I would say my stamina wasn't the best going into the season. So definitely was a physical week and late nights with these rain delays and stuff like that. But, I felt great in the car, and, it's just a little tired after.
David, you mentioned in Victory Lane how it's so important to get that first win kind of knocked off. And not only did you get 1, but you got 2. How important is that, with as tough as the competition is right now, to get those wins under your belt and just to get momentum started off right?
Yeah, it's very important. It seems like always the first one is the hardest. They're all hard, but, knowing that you could do it, and, our car's capable, our team's capable. This sprint car world's so crazy. We got new crew guys every year, it seems like. And, luckily we have 2 of the 3 pieces we had last year. And then from the previous year, we had Scott that worked with us. So we're all familiar with each other, but obviously we all got to work well together. And, we were able to do that. So feels good to have speed at Volusia. We kind of got a lot of big tracks to start the year with more Volusia, and then Port Royal and Williams Grove and Lincoln. So really looking forward to hopefully just starting super, super hot and continue that to go.
David, talking about that momentum, do you enjoy this little break that's going to happen? I know you talked about that injury that you have. Do you need this downtime to kind of heal, or are you wishing that you guys were still racing now that you've popped off 2 wins already? You want that momentum to keep going?
You definitely like the momentum to keep going, but I cannot complain with this schedule, racing at Volusia and then coming back and me able to drive home, the night of the race that we're done, or the morning of the race, I could show up and leave my house. So for me, it's going to be a good refresher and help shorten the season up. I always said if the season was 1 month shorter, it would be perfect. With us racing into November now, it's a long year. So I think this is going to help the crew guys, help the drivers, and really help everybody, I think, be better in a mental place for the whole season. And I think the year will feel shorter because of it.
Yeah. David, you talked about being able to drive home and sleep in your own bed. I know you're originally from Connecticut, but have lived in Florida for a while now. How nice is it to race in your home state, now have another set of races at Volusia in a few weeks, to get that time with your new baby and to have them in Victory Lane? And is it kind of like a home home team or hometown win now when you're racing at Volusia? Do you have family and new friends that come to the races?
Well, I don't know if you guys been to Florida very often, maybe away from the races, but it seems like everybody from the Northeast has moved down here. So it seems like every time we go to Volusia, there's lots of people from Massachusetts or Connecticut coming down, or family. But Jill's family is a lot down here in South Florida. And, it definitely feels like a home race for me just because we have so many people that come down. They want to get out of the cold for the winter, or live down here now, or just want to get away. So it's definitely cool. Always have a lot of support at Volusia, and nothing's like home in Connecticut, but again, I live a lot closer to Volusia than I do anywhere else in Connecticut.
No doubt about it. All right, so let's talk about this little dude, Levi. What's it been like? You and your wife, Jill, welcomed him into the world just a few months ago. What's it like being a new dad, David?
Yeah, it's really cool. He's so awesome. We're so lucky. He's healthy. He looks normal. He's happy and just smiling all the time. He loves, he loves people and everybody that loves him. I mean, I feel like we couldn't be blessed with a better baby. So that's really cool. The first week of racing, with us never doing it and having 5 days in a row and rain delays and all that is an experience in itself, and knowing where to go or not to go or where to put them. And we don't have a motor home, so it's not ideal, but we're going to figure out that, going down the road. Jill's going to come to more races than she has, and I'm going to try to get home more as well. So I don't think the motorhome life is our life, but who knows? That might change here moving forward.
That was going to be my next question for you. I know in the past we've talked about life outside of racing, that you have your drag cars, you have your podcast, you have your YouTube page. You do a lot that's just, that's also outside of racing. And your wife, I believe you told me, just got her, is it nurse practitioner's degree she was working on? How are you going to balance that? Now you have family, you've got a son, and travel becomes a little bit different. And I can only say that because I speak from experience, as does Ashley.
Yeah, I know you guys travel a lot and have dealt with all sorts of obstacles, and you are both moms now, so I'm sure it's a handful. For us, we're going to, not make a plan and just kind of take it step by step. But Jill's finishing school here February 27th, I believe, to get her master's degree as a nurse practitioner. So when she does that, she's hoping to and do injectables and Botox and lip fillers and all that stuff moving forward down here in South Florida, and maybe mobile, maybe at the Knoxville Nationals. Who knows?
I like it. That's awesome and would be perfect. All right. So, David, your family has always been huge supporters. How is Grandma and Grandpa? Are they Nona, Poppy? What are their names? I know you said Jill's family lives down there. Did they get to visit often, your parents and your sisters?
My sisters, we had Thanksgiving here. We went to Connecticut for Christmas. Since then, I haven't seen my sisters, but my parents came down for Volusia for the whole week, and they're still here. And they leave tomorrow. And, obviously they're going to come back to Volusia as well. And then we'll be in Connecticut for a week in between the Pennsylvania races. So, my dad's going as Pap right now, and my mom's going as Gam Gam right now. So we'll see what they could pronounce, or what he could pronounce when he gets to talk. But it's always a nonstop, brainstorming process on what they want to get called. My mom still isn't set on hers, but my dad's definitely set on his.
That's awesome. You have such a great family, and it's awesome to see their support. David, last question, getting back to racing, looking forward to the World of Outlaws season. What are some things you're excited about, some things you're looking forward to, maybe a little bit worried about? And maybe who do you see as some of your biggest competition? We know that Brad Sweet, obviously being, defending champ is certainly one, but, there's some new names that seem to be popping up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to unfold on that question. I mean, definitely the $1 million to win race at Eldora is one of the top of the list. I feel like there's like 6 or 7 big name events with Husitz, Knoxville Nationals, Kings Royal, the Million, the National Open, and, the World of Outlaw Championship. Those all are at the top of the list. If I could check off 2 or more of those, that would be an amazing year. So those are what I'm really striving for. Yeah, Outlaw Championship is just as important as any of them. But, it's going to be a tough year. Obviously, what I'm concerned about, obviously, is the new tire coming out. We're supposed to get it, I believe, the week of Pennsylvania. So I think that could be a game changer for lots of people. It might be very good for somebody's driving style or maybe for a team that can adapt well, and it might hurt people that, can adapt as well. So I think that's going to be the biggest change in sprint car racing moving forward is the new tire and how it affects Eldora and Knoxville, right? All the people that have been super strong there might be a little bit of a learning curve when we get back. So, Brad Sweet, Carson Macedo, Logan Schuhart, Donnie Schatz, there's so many other people that can win. Jacob Allen, Gio Selzy, so all those guys can win. The first group I talked about, Sheldon Honeshield as well, but I think there's 4 guys that have a legitimate shot at winning the championship, and, I truly believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you the best of luck, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you down the road.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, David. When we come back in just a moment, we'll have more Wing Nation.
The Outlaws are headed back to the Pacific Northwest. Join us for 3 action-packed nights of racing August 31st, September 1st and 2nd at Skagit Speedway when the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars return for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals. Kickoff for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals begins Wednesday, August 30th with a pre-race party, live band, Sage Fruit apple giveaways, and more. Then catch Donnie Schatz and the rest of the World of Outlaws as they take on Washington's best sprint car drivers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Details at SkagitSpeedway.com. Hey, this is Steve Post with Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit. I hope you catch this week's show because Ashley Stremme and we caught up with Justin Peck. Ashley, he's one of our favorites.
It's true, Steve. He did 99 races last year, and he's going to hit 100 this year because his team owner said we're doing it. So be sure to check out our interview with him to see what and where he's going to be this year, Steve.
100 races? Are you kidding me? They've lost their minds, and you can learn more on Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit, Wednesdays on Rev, Fridays on MAV.
Welcome back to Wing Nation. Joining us now on the Sage Fruit Hotline is the one and only Terry McCarl. How are you doing today, Terry?
Doing great. Just got to Austin. I'm at Austin's house, and he just brought our first grandbaby home, so it's a pretty exciting time.
Tell us about that. I know that I think you were in Florida, flew home to be there to welcome your first grandbaby. What has that been like from you? I mean, let's not talk racing yet. Let's talk life and family. How cool is it to be a grandfather?
Well, his name's Cole James McCarl. He's 7 pounds, 15 ounces, 21.5 inches long. I guess a lot of people want to know that, but healthy. That's all that we cared about. Didn't care if it was a boy or a girl. Just want a healthy baby. But Cole did a great job. He let me get to East Bay. I got there about midnight, and they had canceled that race, so I thought that the pits would be a mud hole, but I walked back there and it wasn't too bad. So I was able to park my rig back where I always park on the back straightaway. And about 1 o'clock, I fell asleep in the truck, and Lori called me about 5 and said, we're having a baby, so get on a flight and get home. So worked out really well. I was able to get a flight home and be there. I wasn't there right when he was born, but soon thereafter, and been enjoying the start of this grandpa deal. And I don't know, I'm pretty excited about it. So is Lori. We all are. It's a different time in life. Everybody I know that has grandkids tell me it's better than kids because you can spoil the heck out of them and then send them home.
It's so true. So mom, dad are doing good?
Really good. Lori said that Alyssa's awesome, Austin's wife. Both my boys have married great girls, and she's always been a real positive attitude, real trooper in everything she does. And she said it went really, really smooth, and she was laughing. Alyssa had them all laughing and smiling. And, I think she had to push for about 4 hours, and he came out, and he's perfectly healthy so far. So everything went as smooth as could be expected or hoped for, So right now everything's doing great, and we just got him home.
That's awesome. We're really happy for you and Lori, and obviously Austin and his wife. What a wonderful thing to have a healthy child. Getting back to a little bit of racing, you said you parked your stuff at East Bay. I know you missed the 410 races to be home, but this weekend is a big race, the Ronald Laney Memorial King of 360s race. I know it's been a special race for you. You've been there for many years. You've won it a number of times. Talk about this race, and I also know you knew Ronald Laney. Talk about what it means to be there and to kick off the season with this one.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the few guys now that knew Ronald personally and knew what a great young man he was. And I was actually right there when his accident happened. If it would have been a fence, he would have hit my trailer right on the back straightaway. So I do have a different perspective on it than a lot of people maybe. And he always came to Oskaloosa and put on some great parties back there. We don't want to talk about those parties maybe, but he was a great young man, and I was there when he won. He passed me and Gary Wright to win that the 360 race years ago, and I always laugh talking about how he went to get paid, and he still had the crown on later, and he was so proud of that win, and so it means a lot to me. And then Florida in general has always meant a lot to me. My dad always went down there in the early 70s, and at the fairgrounds out of Tampa, and I always heard the stories when I was a little boy of all the crazy antics that went on down there and all the fun they had. Now you see all the old videos of people. I watched, someone sent me one the other day from the fairgrounds with my dad in it, but I knew all those drivers, and Bill Lutz and Roger Rager, and of course Jan Opperman and those guys, Pancho Carter that were racing. So it was always a big event or a big time to go down there, to get out of the cold weather everywhere but Florida. It always seems to have great weather this time of year, and to go be a part of that. So to me, those races were really special. When I first went to East Bay, I drove for Bob Weichert, and there were 70 cars there. It was 4 nights, 3 nights preliminaries and a final night. And, they inverted 6 in the heat and took 3. It was brutal and really, really tough competition. And of course, I love East Bay. It's just such a unique track and a fun track because I don't think it's as much about horsepower. You always need good horsepower, of course, but I think it's more about the driver and getting the mechanics, getting the car right and rotating the track. It's a really tricky, funny racetrack and a funny surface. And Austin and I were on our way to Georgia 2 years ago, and I heard Tim McCready, the fake T-Mac, Tim McCready, talk about, that was a funny joke right there.
I know, I caught that. It took me a second, but I caught it.
No, I heard Tim talking about, after the race, how everything you do at East Bay, you don't do that anywhere else in the country. And Gary Wright told me that years ago. He and I were winning quite a bit, and he told me, he's like, Terry, everything you do down here, what you do when you get to the Georgia state line, you throw all your notes out for Florida because you don't do this anywhere else where we race. And so that makes it fun for me. It's just tricky and a lot of fun. I've got a lot of great friends I've had down there for years and sponsors. So it's just a fun time. But coming home for a grandbaby is worth missing some of it.
Terry, talking about East Bay, obviously we've chatted about it in the past. With it being such a tricky surface, then you have to throw in the ocean tides when high tide comes, low tide, because it changes everything. Do you stay up on that? Does one of your crew guys stay up on it? And what do you have to essentially change when those tides change?
I don't really believe that stuff, to be honest with you, Ashley. I just think it's it's just in the air. Or maybe that has to do with the same type of thought process. But when it gets slick and you have stuff, with the 360s, you can still run soft tires on the left rear and the medium on the right rear. And I think that's kind of what happened the night Ronald won. Is I think he started up front and he kind of backed up like he was, too loose early. And then we had multiple yellows and things happen, and the moisture kind of come up in the track. Like you say, I don't know if it's tide or just there's so much water in the air there. I mean, when we do our ADR and things like that, setting up our engines. And then you have such a soft tire on the left rear. I think when you have yellows and long reds, that right rear seals up and cools down, and the left rear still has a lot of drive. So, I seen Kelly Kinzer hit the outside fence, and Kelly never ran the outside fence. So we all got so tight, and I think Ronald was free enough. He ended up smoking us all, driving all back around us. And so it's tricky that way. I don't know if it's tide or if I don't ever look at those types of things. I just don't know if it's that or the moisture in the air and just the difference in tires that we run. And, when you have a long yellow, I think the left rear starts out driving it so much. So it gets, you can dominate. I've said that to the boys a couple of times. You could lead the first, 39 laps and a yellow comes out and, your tires change and the track changes. Anything could happen after that. And actually that happened a few years ago. I got Mark Smith he had it one and the yellow come out on the last lap and we got by him there for the checkered. So, anything could happen, but that place just seems to do it a little more. And I think, I don't know if it's the tide or just the moisture in the air, but it's part of what makes East Bay tricky and fun and hard to win at.
Terry, I know you said that you can't really take anything away from East Bay as far as setups for the rest of the year, but how important is it to go down there and have a good start to the year and have some good finishes to kind of get the ball rolling?
Well, winning always makes you feel good, no matter what the track or who you're racing against. And so, and if you can start the year out strong, it certainly helps you get through the next few months when the stuff gets going really strong around the Midwest. But, I went down there and stunk it up for a couple of weeks. And, one year we won 5 features down there. And so it certainly makes you feel good. It's better for the sponsors and the crew, of course, when you win. It's like that anytime you win. But, start the season off strong always makes you feel good. And, I've just been fortunate enough. I've always been pretty good at East Bay and Volusia. Again, if you win them all, again, it doesn't really mean that much coming back here other than put you in a great mood and gets everybody fired up about the upcoming season.
Well, being in a great mood is always a positive thing. And speaking of that, Knoxville has announced that they're going to increase the purse. Terry, what's that mean, knowing that you race there, the boys race there regularly, having that increased purse, how much does it help you guys out?
Well, somebody put a stat out, I think Sprint Car Stats or something, put all the payoffs for all the tracks, Knoxville, Huset's, Williams Grove, Port Royal, everybody. And I was pretty impressed that Knoxville's number one. Huset's was only about $800 behind them on the weekly purse. So I wish I was still in my prime like everybody does, but it's great to see Knoxville step up. They've always been kind of a leader in that with point funds and payoffs. And, there's not one single owner there, and it's all a fair board, and it doesn't affect, they don't get paid to do that, I don't believe. And so they've always been good at putting back into the sport, putting back into the facility and the big events. And that's kind of the way I've always promoted my Front Row Challenge. I spend a lot of money I probably don't have to and give away a lot of things, but I'm trying to make it more of an event and put back into the sport that way. And I think more people will support our event because of it, and fans. But Knoxville's been a leader in that for years. Again, because no one there is making or losing money, they can take risks that others maybe can't. But it showed that if you spend money, you can make more money in the future. And they've always been a leader in that. So luckily, we're only 30 miles from there. And I'm pretty proud to be a champion at that. And both my sons have been champions. So it's definitely the greatest track in the world, I think.
It sure is. Terry, last question for you. What does the season look for you? Did I hear that you're back with the 360s at Knoxville?
I don't know. I'm really torn. I still feel the same way I did last year and the year before, that, it's just really, really hard for me to race my sons. And I'm a really competitive person. And I just have a different outlook when I'm at the races. I'm not there to make friends. I'm there to win. And it changes my attitude so much when my sons are racing. I'd rather go back to 410s. Again, they pay much better. And I think the costs are relatively the same, whether you got a 360 or a 410 in there. If you want to win, if you're trying to beat the top guys there every week and try to win championships, it's expensive, and you got to have new tires on, you got to have great engines. So, but again, I don't want to race against my son, so I'll probably end up in the 360s. I really was trying to find an IRA ride or something that I could go, race the 410 and not have to race my sons. But I've got a really good 410 and a really good 360. And I guess as it stands today, I'll probably, be running the 360s at Knoxville, but I'm gonna try to run my 410 a lot more often, other places, Houston and some other places maybe.
Well, whichever you choose, wherever you go, we wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations again on the grandbaby.
I didn't notice. Was Steve there today, or not? Was he gone? I didn't notice Steve not being there. I get to talk to the two ladies. It's kind of nice.
He's on his way to Daytona for that real job that he has.
Oh, he's a big wig. Okay.
Yeah. We're, Ashley and I are just here talking wing sprint cars, which actually we prefer.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. So, well, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you again, Terry. We need to take another quick break, but when we come back, more Wing Nation.
The Outlaws are headed back to the Pacific Northwest. Join us for 3 action-packed nights of racing August 31st, September 1st and 2nd at Skagit Speedway, when the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars return for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals. Kickoff for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals begins Wednesday, August 30th with a pre-race party, live band, Sage Fruit apple giveaways, and more. Then catch Donnie Schatz and the rest of the World of Outlaws as they take on Washington's best sprint car drivers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Details at SkagitSpeedway.com.
The National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum's newest exhibit will be our track tribute to Williams Grove Speedway inside the museum's main floor from April 3rd through October 2nd this year. You'll learn about the beginning of Williams Grove Speedway and the evolution of sprint car racing on the East Coast through 8 of the iconic big cars and sprint cars that made up the history of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania's Williams Grove Speedway. Plus, you'll see videos of historic National Open sprint car races and other racing events that put Williams Grove on the map. That's the track tribute to Williams Grove Speedway, featured April 3rd through October 2nd at the only museum in the world solely dedicated to sprint car racing, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville, Iowa.
Welcome back. This is Wing Nation. Let's go to the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame birthday calendar. Monday is Steve Smith's birthday. Today, Joe Jaggersberger and Bayless Leverett. Thursday, Gene Cruisine. Friday, Earl Gilmore, Colby Scroggin, Myron Stevens. Saturday, Tom Holden, Jim McElrath, and T.E. Pop Myers. Sunday, Rick Ferkel. And you can become a supporting member of the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum for only $25, and you get free admission to the museum and 10% discount on museum store merchandise.
Well, I have tried for the Corvette, Erin, numerous times, and I have yet to win it. You can go to winaz06corvette.com for your entrance, and it helps the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame as well. But this weekend, some racing on tap. East Bay, still killing it with the All-Stars last night. The rest of this week, we talked about it with Terry McCarl, the Ronald Laney King of the 360s. The 3-night show is this weekend. And then the World of Outlaws, we have a little bit of break that we spoke about with David Gravel. They're off until early March, and then they hit Bike Week for Daytona Bike Week. Volusia fires back up, and then they head to the great state of Pennsylvania.
Yes, absolutely. Your favorite state. Well, Ashley, any final thoughts? I thought we had two interesting guests. We had Gravel, who's off to a great start, and we have Terry McCarl, who's always great to catch up with. Obviously has exciting news in his family life, but certainly always a contender wherever he goes.
Erin, you can probably attest to this. I feel like in the dirt world, we are in baby fever season. I feel like in the NASCAR world, everybody was single, then everybody got married, and then everybody started having babies. And I feel like that's where we're at in the dirt world right now.
So true. So true. All right. Well, make sure to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter and Facebook. We have a YouTube page. You can get your fancy Wing Nation gear at www.shopwingnation.com. or at the Tom Buick Justin Peck merchandise trailer, possibly at East Bay this evening. And coming up this weekend on Wing Nation TV, presented by Sage Fruit with Ashley and Steve Post, is guest Justin Peck. It airs Wednesday in Canada on Rev TV and Mav TV, a new time of 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fridays. So thank you very much to David Gravel and Terry McCarl for joining us here today. And thank you all for tuning in and watching the Galentine's Day edition of Wing Nation.